Hey everyone, this is video number 2. This is AYBL Main. Today's video will be the top 10 REM albums. This will be the top 10 albums that include all the band members. So that means if an album did not include Bill Berry toward the end, which is the last 5 albums, I will not be including that in my top 10. It's really just my opinion. I've been a long time REM fan for at least 33 years. I've got all their stuff on album, CD. I had them all on cassette. Just a huge fan overall, and I just like to share with the music community out there a band that I thoroughly enjoy. So let's get to it. Number 10 for me, it's Fables of the Reconstruction. Now it is falling at number 10 because REM didn't have a sophomore slump with Reckoning. Reckoning was a tremendous album. It wasn't as good as Murmur, but it was a really good album. So in my mind, it wasn't a slump at all. But they did slide a little bit when they did Fables of the Reconstruction. It had a little bit more of a folksy feel to it, a little bit more of a heartland alternative rock to it. So it really didn't appeal to me all that much. Now, there's some great tunes on here. My favorite is Maps and Legends. Check out Driver 8 and Can't Get There From Here. It's a good album. It's still fine to listen to, but in measurement to the other albums on this list, Fables of the Reconstruction is number 10. My number 9 is an album that I really didn't like at all because it came at the tail end of that run they had in the 90s. That was just tremendous. Some great albums for them. And it took me a long time to circle back around and really like this album. New Adventures in HiFi. Michael Stipe actually likes this album a lot. So does Tom York of Radiohead. Both of those guys really like the album, and I really have given it a second chance over the last couple years. And there is some great stuff on there. You should listen to Ebo the Letter for sure. There's a track on there called Be Mine that's absolutely fantastic. It's a little different. It's a little bit out there. A lot of different types of genres that are experimented with on the album, and it has, I think Patti Smith appears on the Ebo the Letter track, which is it's fine, but still, overall against their other catalog, doesn't quite measure up. So it's only on number 9 for me. Number 8 might be a little bit of a surprise for some people, but it's Monster. Monster, to me, it was like their attempt to try to stay above water when all that other stuff was going on in the mid-90s. It had grunge that was just huge, and overseas Britpop was really getting large. So Oasis was making that big run here in the 1994, 1995. So it just felt like REM was just trying to stay relevant a little bit. I know they always wanted to make a rock album, and they attempted it a couple times, and it always seems like they end up with some other type of album by the time that they actually got their stuff into the studio. They did an okay job as far as making a rock album. What's the Frequency Count is a great song. Bang and Blame. Let Me In is actually a grunge song in my opinion anyway. Great song on here. My favorite is Strange Currencies. You can definitely check that out. It's just it's not a terrible album. It's something that was unexpected, and it didn't feel really relevant to me that they make an album like this. But the band wanted to try something different, and I always give the guys props when they do that. So next is Reckoning, the Sophomore Slump album. This is a really solid album. You could tell that the production quality went up a little bit from Murmur. There wasn't so many muffled sounds in the lyrics, and a lot of more crisp melodic tunes. Definitely check out Don't Go Back to Rockville, Seven Chinese Brothers, Pretty Persuasion, all really good songs. I like the album a lot, and I can listen to it from front to back easy, not a problem. It's just overall, there's not like one song on the CD that I would consider like a great song for them. So they're all really good songs, but just nothing that really stands out to me, or a collection that stands out to me anyway. So they're hanging on there at number 7. Number 6, not making the top 5. Probably going to get some shade for this one. Out of Time. Huge commercial successfully, but it just falls out my top 5 for a couple reasons. Some good tracks on here. My second favorite track, Losing My Religion's on here. I love Belong, the spoken word track. Me and Honey, fantastic. Texarkana, Near Wild Heaven. Not a huge fan of the Shiny Happy People stuff, and honestly, I don't even know, upon reflection, what Michael Stipe was thinking with the whole radio song with KRS-One. Huge fan of Boogie Down Productions and KRS-One. Huge fan of REM. Not really sure they really fit together here. I just think maybe it was a track of the time, and it really didn't stand the test of time. So this fell outside the top 5 for me, probably for those 2 reasons. But still, you have to own it. You'll love it. Let's get to the top 5. All right. So, number 5, Life's Rich Pageant. This was the second REM cassette that I bought after Document, and we'll get to Document later. Of their catalog, probably the most socially relevant. A lot of commentary about social elements and political elements, and some good stuff on here. Fall on Me, I know for a long time was Michael Stipe's favorite track, favorite song, period. I Believe's a great song on here. Superman, my personal favorite is Swan Swan Hummingbird. Really interesting story about Fall on Me. They had a music video for it that actually had the word foresight misspelled, so I always thought that was kind of funny. But to show you the humanistic nature of the band, truly was like one of those memorable moments that I'll always take with me. Life's Rich Pageant, great. You should listen to it. You'll enjoy it. Okay, number 4. Climbed up from like maybe 10 years ago. I'd have had this album like number 7. Green. For some reason, after Document, because Document was so important to me, this felt like a huge letdown. And maybe it's because it had, Stand and Pop Song on there and Get Up, tracks that I just didn't really care for. But later on now, I've had some reflection, and I really don't mind those tracks at all. And I've always liked Orange Crush. It's always a good song to me. Other great tracks to try out is You Are My Everything, Turn You Inside Out. Some good stuff. I mean, overall, a good album for them, and definitely, an album that you could see that when they made the transition from IRS Records to Warner Brothers, that it was so much more well produced. They had so much more money behind this, and I actually got to see these guys on this tour. The Green Tour was tremendous. So number 4 on my list. Okay, number 3. Number 3 is really going to bring the shade now, because it's only at number 3. You guessed it, Murmur, their debut album. Considered probably top 10 debut album ever of any band. Great jangle pop tracks, good alternative rock music. Radio Free Europe is probably the staple of alternative rock in the 80s for sure. Check out Perfect Circle, talk about the passion. It's just great all the way through. Catapult, Sitting Still, just so much stuff packed into this that you really have to listen to it, and you'll understand how college radio was able to build bands like this and get some momentum. And by the time 1991 rolls around, that whole line between alternative rock and real rock just gets blurred away completely. But it has to start somewhere. And this album right here, I feel like kind of like started that whole accessibility for alternative artists, especially on the radio. Okay, number 2. This is my sentimental favorite, and I'll give you the story why. This is Document. I bought the cassette to this. I was on my way to basic training for the Air Force, and I just wanted something I could always just throw on in the background and kind of keep me distracted, get me through some times, if I'm just having a rough day or something. Ended up working out really well for me. And I don't know why, because I only knew like 2 songs off of this when I bought it. It's The End of the World As You Know It and The One I Love. And later on, though, all the other tracks just like grew on me so much and became such a sentimental favorite for me to get me through those tough days. King of Birds, Disturbance at the Herring House, finest work song. They do a cover of Wire's Strange. Fantastic stuff. You need to listen to this album all the way through to see how powerful it truly is. This is a sentimental favorite. You know, if it wasn't for the quality of the number one that's coming up, this probably would have been it, but this is just couldn't beat it out. So number one, you guessed it, it's Automatic for the People. It's easily in my top 5 albums of all time. Probably if I ranked it, you know, very objectively, probably would be number 3, but I try to take a lot of things into consideration of the time and things like that. There's 2 things I don't like about it. One, Sidewinder Sleeps Tonight felt like it should have been on Out of Time. Didn't really fit with the motif of the rest of the material. And the instrumental just seemed like it was thrown in there to fill a little bit of time. Really didn't like that. But everything else, fantastic. The best bookends I can think of for a band, starting off with Drive and ending with Find the River. Everybody Knows Everybody Hurts, Man on the Moon, Try Not to Breathe is a fantastic song. Money Got a Raw Deal, my favorite song by REM, and maybe a top 10 song, period. Night Swimming is on here. It's just fantastic. There's not other than those 2 things I mentioned, not another bad song on here. You'll enjoy every single one of them. So that's my top 10 of REM. Please feel free to leave your top 10 and throw away the comments as much as you want. I don't care if it's shade or what. I just appreciate your time. You guys enjoy to the next vid. Thanks.